Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the No Punches Pulled podcast. We're here at episode number 12, joined by regular co-host Mr. J's Fight Talk and a very special guest today, all the way from Sweden, Mr. Håkan Johansson. How are we, guys? Good evening.
Evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, Sam.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for coming on, Håkan and J's Fight Talk. As always, good to see you this fine Tuesday evening. So, boys, we'll start as we always do. We did the weekend review show, Jay, obviously on Sunday, but we'll gloss over a little bit further into detail on the Liam Davis versus Sabaz Masood show anyway on Saturday night, this past Saturday, in Birmingham. We've done the main event, but especially want to get Håkan's thoughts. I know Håkan's very close to the Patricia Bergholt camp. So we'll start, I guess, in the co-main event of the night is for Cameron's WBC interim super lightweight world championship, and it was a fairly dominant performance in the end, Jay, from Chantel, but it was kind of rinse and repeat, if you want to call it that, from kind of you saw the pattern of the fight from round number 1, round number 2, and it was kind of the same thing from then right the way through to the 10th. Or am I being a bit harsh there? Or
I mean, Håkan, I'll be able to tell us different, but yeah, it was a little bit similar for, a bit samey from Chantel Cameron. She sort of gets range, she'll let a few punches go, and then when she can feel, for me, it feels like when she feels she can't get their opponent out of there, she goes into sort of autopilot and just goes through the motions doing very similar things. Patricia, for me, seemed like she boxed a little bit within herself. I don't know whether the time out, she didn't think she had maybe the gas to go full pelt for the full 10 rounds, or maybe she would just beaten by the better girl. But I've watched her fights, knowing that she'd got the fight. I sort of crammed up and watched some of her fights, and I've seen her box, in my opinion, better than that. Certainly from the outside, dipping in and dipping out. And she just seemed to play into Chantel Cameron's hands, really, and didn't change tactics. Similar to Chantel, she didn't change tactics and look to get her out of there, and the fight sort of was a bit of a damp squib for me. I believe that given different circumstances, that could have been a very different fight, but Håkan's closer to the camp than we are, and he may tell us something different. But yeah, it wasn't the best of Chantel Cameron that I've seen, but she got the victory.
Big up Jam's Boxing Chat. Thanks for joining us, my friend. As always, go and subscribe to Jam's Boxing Chat for the shorts, Boxing Media Hub, obviously for the watch-alongs, interviews. Big up Joel as well over there at Boxing Media Hub. The Encyclopedia of Boxing, Mr. Håkan Johansson's joined us. So I'll come to you then, Håkan. Give us. I know you weren't able to watch the full card from Birmingham, but I know you did manage to catch some of the Chantel Cameron against Patricia Bergholt fight. Just give us your thoughts. Obviously, you're close to the camp over there in Sweden. Yeah, how did you kind of analyze things, and what's next potentially for Patricia? And big up Luca, as well. Thanks for joining us, Luca.
I believe that Patricia, she came back in September in Sweden and fought Vaida Mazzucaite, and that was her first fight at the weight after having been out in 18 months. And I was very surprised that they took this fight so soon after she had been out for a very long time. And I think that Chantel Cameron is on another level than Patricia is. So if Patricia had all the best sparring and had prepared the best she could, she would have not had that challenge Chantel to win the fight. But she maybe could have won a couple of rounds more if the fight had come in 6 months' time. And she had maybe had one fight, stay busy fight before this one at the weight.
Yeah. I guess from that point of view, Håkan, sometimes the opportunity is too good to turn down. I'd say it was a very nice payday for Patricia.
Surely. It's for Patricia. It was good for her that she got this chance. And now when she wasn't knocked out, I think it could only be better, and she could have another good fight. Maybe not next, but there are some fights that I think that would be good in the weight class for Patricia.
Yeah, she's definitely put herself sort of in the shop window and proven that she's definitely world level, you know. And as you said, with better preparation or longer preparation and maybe a couple more tune-up, hate saying tune-up fights, but maybe fights at a lesser level, it's easier to bridge the gap. Sometimes going from, you know, say domestic level to world championship level can be done, and there are fighters that have done it, but not many. It's a big gap to bridge, and I think she missed giving herself the best opportunity by maybe not boxing somebody at a higher level before facing the, you know, a girl that's boxed at world level a lot of her career and been a, you know, unified world champion and boxed unification bouts. But yeah, I think we'll see Patricia again on these shows, maybe challenging another champion, or certainly boxing in eliminators and on big shows. I don't think she did herself any harm. You know,
well, her only defeat.
All belts are tied with Katie Taylor in the weight. Mm-hmm. So, but I think she maybe could get international title fights or some of them organizations, and could get a higher ranking and maybe challenge in a year for a title.
Jams asked Håkan, who would you like to see in with next? Have you got a name, do you think?
I believe, I think it's good for Patricia if she had a fight, not maybe at the European European title or like that going forward, and then a bigger one after that.
Yeah, definitely. And how about, I'll ask Jay this one, then I'll come to you as well, Håkan. What do you think's next for Chantel Cameron? Because as you say, the belts are tied up in Texas on this Netflix show for Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, the rematch. You'd have to say if Serrano wins, you'd have to say a trilogy is probably likely at Croke Park in Dublin, I would suggest. If Taylor wins at 2-0, is the trilogy sellable? I don't know, but there's a lot of money on the line. I'm with you as well, Jay. But
the retired belts will get fragmented. So
fragment the belts, and Chantel will be upgraded.
Either upgraded or made to fight the number one contender for the belt outright, maybe. You know, I think Chantel will probably be there. Will she not? Next week,
she should. Maybe. She should go. She should.
I mean, she's got a shout to fight the winner anyway. She's got a shout to rematch Katie Taylor again, because there was some controversy. Maybe not the last one, but certainly the one before that was seen as controversial. So
he's had two great fights with Katie Taylor.
It's two great fights. It's 1-1, but she was calling for the Tasha Jonas fight as well. So.
They got Rambler. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah. 3-minute rounds, Katie Taylor will lose. Yeah, interesting. I mean, don't get me wrong, Serrano did hurt her, definitely. We've got a segment on Taylor Serrano to cover a bit later in the show, so we'll save that for then.
But Chantel Cameron next then, I think if Katie Taylor wins the rematch, I think a trilogy could happen in Ireland between Chantel and Katie. But that would be Katie's last fight.
Yeah, I believe. That would be sort of the homecoming.
But if Amanda Serrano wins, surely it will be a trilogy on that fight instead. And
I think so. Yes. I don't think Katie's not going to want to retire on a loss, is she?
No.
No,
not for me. No
so, but Chantel said in interviews that she would like to challenge Jonas or Mayer if the Katie fight can't happen next.
I'd like to see her fight Sandy Ryan, to be fair. I'd love to see
That's
that.
another great fight, 147.
That's a fight that Chantel doesn't want.
No.
Yeah, I
that
heard her
fight
say she
would
wants
never
Jonas.
happen.
Yeah, she wants Jonas. She does that.
Jonas and Chantel are close.
But I think, as a lot of girls do, they see Tasha half a foot out the door. You know,
she's older.
40s,
yeah.
And I think she sees that as an easier shot. Not for me. You know how I feel about Tasha. So, you know, I wouldn't pick that as an easy fight. I don't think any of them are easy fights. I mean, I think Sandy Ryan's possibly the pick out of them all for me. I think she beat Maya in that fight. It was very close, and you know, Maya got the decision. But I think, you know, any of those fights would be a great match.
Oh, it would be amazing fights.
Yeah, they would. But I can't see that Chantel fighting Sandy Ryan with no belts on the line.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a very risky fight for no belts.
Yes.
Yeah. You'd rather fight Michaela Meyer at this point, wouldn't you? Because she's got the belts. Big up Wayne Herman, as always. Hope you're well, Wayne. Thanks for tuning in, mate.
I only mentioned it because it's a fight I'd want to see as a fan, but I understand that, you know, it's a high risk, very little reward for a win. So yeah, I agree with Håkan that we're not going to see that fight unless there's a title on the line.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to move towards this week's action now, guys. I know Echo Esserman, Ben Vaughan had an absolute worldy fight of the year kind of style fight on Saturday, but won't cover that one too much just because we've got so much to get through in today's show. This Saturday night, Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia is the scene. Boots Ennis, Jaron Ennis fought David Avanesyan there back in July. He's returning. It did 14,000 tickets. I think Matt Troom said it was a great success. His homecoming. He's got Bam Rodriguez to back him up on this card as well. Ray Ford's on the card as well. Amo Williams is returning in his first fight since losing to Hamza Shiraz in the 5 versus 5. Before I come to you guys on the individual fights, I know Håkan, we spoke off camera just before Jay joined about. I actually think it's a really solid card. A few people have told me on X today that they don't think it's a great card, but I actually think it's a decent enough card. So I'll ask you both that question first of all. What do you actually think of the card overall, and then I'll get your thoughts on the main couple of fights at least. Anyway, so Håkan, I know you said you thought it was a good card. I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think this is one of the best cards this year from Matchroom. Yeah,
it's hard to outside of Riyadh season. It's definitely is.
Yeah. For me, there are 5-6 fights that are good on this card. So even before the bell are some good fights.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. Jay, what do you think, mate?
Yeah, it's a decent card in terms of match. Usually the Matchroom American cards, you have 1, maybe 2 fights on there that are anything other than lopsided homers. Whereas this card has 5 or 6 fights on there that are not necessarily pick'em fights, but certainly good fights. Strong opponents, decent matchups. It's one of the very few Matchroom cards, certainly stateside, that I'd watch from start to finish.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be getting up to watch. I won't watch the whole card, I'll be honest, but I will watch at least the last 3 or 4 fights for sure.
I'll be setting my alarm an hour earlier this week.
Yeah. Shaki Foster started very early, unfortunately for Jay on Saturday night, and he missed it due to the alarm. Yeah, thanks, Top Rank.
Before the bell starts as early as 9:30 UK time for the show.
Okay, yes, that's right. It's on the East Coast, isn't it? So the main event will probably be around about 2:30, I would say. So it'll be one of them ones. Definitely, it might be worth staying up for then if it starts at 9:30 p.m. UK time. Håkan, definitely. Jaron Ennis, Håkan is rematching Karen Chukhadzhian. He beat him 120-108 on all 3 cards when they fought. I believe it was in an IBF final eliminator or IBF. It was an inter. It was something anyway that Boots got elevated.
It was an interim.
Yes, that's right. Because Boots got elevated to full champion, didn't he? After that, anyway, it wasn't close. Obviously, all 3 judges gave it 12-0 to Jaron Ennis on that instance. Chukhadzhian's won 3 fights since, including against Harry Scarf, obviously a UK fighter. Do you see any way for Karen to do anything different other than getting 12-0 or stopped in this fight? Do you think he's improved much, or do you think he's got any chance, or is Boots Ennis just on a different level?
Yeah, Boots, it's on a way different level, and Agon Sports won the purse bid, but they decided to take.
They did, yeah, they did win the purse bid.
And they decided to take it on away soil, even though they won the purse bid.
Yeah, I'm sure that there was a big offer that they couldn't turn down. There was rumored that Boots was going to 154 at one point, wasn't it? And then
yes,
they've settled now and staying at 147. But how do you assess things, Jay, with the fight?
It's a gimme. It's a gimme for him, to be fair. It's probably the only fight on the card that I'm probably underwhelmed by, if I'm honest. It's a good card, but I don't believe that this is the fight that any of us really wanted to see. If we're going to be honest, I mean, did any of us call for this fight? It wasn't a fight I'd have picked. I think, it's obviously been mandated and gone to purse bids and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's a home win for Matchroom
I think Boots will be the first to stop Karen in this fight. Obviously, didn't stop him last time. I think Boots has improved even more since that fight. I don't believe Karen Chukhadzhian has. But however, like you say, Jay, it is a mandatory. Ultimately, it's give up the belt or fight the mandatory. There wasn't any other fights that stood out, even at 154. I'd imagine Boots is going to want to try and unify. I think Barrios is fighting on that Katie Taylor card in Texas in a couple of weeks' time. Stanionis is fighting Giasov, who's a Matchroom fighter. That's actually going to be a very good fight. I think that's going to be happening at some point. And Brian Norman's the other champion, so hopefully Boots can go on and unify with one of them. If he is going to stay at 147, that is, I actually selfishly want him to go to 154 and get involved in that mix with Virgil Ortiz and Terence Crawford and all the rest of them. I think that would be absolute chaos. But Bam's on the undercard as well. I think that's a bit of a treat having Boots and Bam on the same card, regardless of their opponents. Pedro Guevara is fighting 35 years old. I don't think he's ever been stopped. He's 42-4. He's lost to the likes of Carlos Cuadras. He's been at a good level, but I'm expecting Bam Rodriguez Hawkan to be the first to stop him. He just looks, punches so hard, and he's so smart in his work. He's a joy to watch, Bam.
Yes, I believe Bam will stop Guevara late, round 9, round 10.
Yeah, break him down. What do you think, Jay? Bam Guevara?
I think it'll go earlier than that. Under 5 rounds for me.
Yeah, we'll put it this way.
He'll smash him to pieces. I don't even think it's going to be close. I think he's ready to make a statement in terms of to the world. I know we all know he is, and a lot of people know he is, but it feels for me like he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder and he feels underappreciated. I know he's getting sort of the rub on this card and the sort of co-main events, etc. But I think he's out there to make a real statement, and I think he's just going to stick it on him from the first bell and look to do some absolute damage. And I don't see it going to 6. I don't.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, put it this way. Juan Francisco Estrada had never been stopped before. He fought Bam earlier on this year, and it was a great fight. And Bam found himself on the deck himself, actually, but he dominated the fight and destroyed.
Sonny Edwards. Sonny Edwards is the master of hitting and not being hit. Trapped him and absolutely, beat him up at stages in that fight. He was beating him up. And Sonny prides himself on not being able to be hit. And he was walking onto stuff. He was getting caught in traps. And Bam is known as this concussive puncher, but for me, he's a very underappreciated boxer. His footwork is amazing. His hand speed's really good. And I think he's really clever in what he does as well. He sets traps. Some of the stuff he were catching Sonny Edwards with, you'll never see him caught with punches like that before, during, or after. And that tells me that this kid is special. He's not just a puncher. He's not just a fighter. The kid can do a bit of it all. So I'm always excited to see him fight. I know I've just sort of poo-pooed Jaron Ennis, but Jaron Ennis is very similar as well. Hits really hard, can box, is very skillful. I'm excited to watch him. I just don't believe it's the opponent we wanted to see. But
Yeah,
I think
I know what you mean.
Bam's opponent brings a little bit more to the table, but I just think that Bam's that much better than him that, he'll make him look worse than he actually is. I think he would give a lot of the other champions a hard night's work, but Bam is sort of a level above a majority of them, and that's not me disrespecting anybody. I can't do what they can do, but Bam's a special talent for me, and I think we'll see that on the early hours of Sunday morning.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. We've got the debut of Ray Ford at £130 after the very narrow defeat to Nick Ball on the 5-versus-5 as well. Orlando Gonzalez, his opponent, again another man who's never been stopped. Don't know a whole deal about Orlando Gonzalez, I can't lie, but I'm looking forward to seeing Ray Ford anyway. Horkan at £130. I really rate him. His win over Kolmtov earlier in the year, one of the fights of the year, stopped him with 7 seconds to go. Absolutely fantastic. And the Nick Ball fight was, again, one of the best fights I've seen this year as well. It was a brilliant fight. I'm a big fan of Ray Ford.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Ray Ford. But I think Ray Ford will make a statement here.
He was definitely tight. He was tight at featherweight. Ray Ford. He was struggling at the weight for a while, I think. So he should technically look better.
And I think that affected his performance. If you watch the Ball fight back from about round 7-8, he starts to fade. There's a lot less on his punches. He's not getting out of the way of punches. I'm not saying Nick Ball wouldn't have beat him, but he seemed to be getting caught in areas that he wouldn't necessarily get caught in normally, and he didn't seem to have as much pop and as much speed. So I'm excited to see him carrying a little bit more weight. I think, as Horkan said, I think he'll put on a statement. I think he wants to get back into the title mix sooner rather than later. He's mixed at world level now, and I think he feels that he should be established there and should be spoken about in the same vein as the champion. So yeah, I'm in agreement with Horkan. I think we'll see probably the best of Ray Ford on Saturday night, and I'm excited to see how much better he is, because he has said himself he was shot at the weight and he's struggled. So for him to move up a division is giving him exactly what he wants. So it's on him now to prove to us that what he's saying isn't just he was beaten by the better man. It was to do with weight, and that's again not taking anything away from Ball. But he has said that his performance wasn't as good as it should have been based on him struggling to make the weight. So he doesn't have that excuse now. So we should see a better Ray Ford for me.
Yeah, most definitely. That should be good. Austin Ammo Williams, or Tiger Williams, as he's now known, as Lucas said. He's turned himself into a tiger for the Hamza Shiraz fight. He put up a very brave, good performance in that, and he stung Hamza in round number 2. He really did catch him with a good shot, and there's no disgrace. Yeah, exactly. No disgrace in his performance there. Hamza's the real deal. So yeah, overall, really good card. I'm looking forward to it. We'll obviously be doing a live watch along for a lot of the fight. Before we go into the what's happened this week. Just reading something. Keyshawn Davis is fighting on Friday night in Norfolk. Gustavo Lemos is fighting. The guy knocked out Lee Selby. I think he retired Lee Selby actually in Argentina a couple of years ago. He's only got 1 defeat on the record as well. So I actually think that's going to be a decent enough test. I expect Keyshawn to come through the fight. I think he only lost his last fight, and it was against Richardson Hitchens. And he's fighting the Aussie Liam Paro for the IBF belt next month. So I don't know if any of you guys have aware of the fight or looking forward to, because Keyshawn's a bit of a talent, Jay.
Yeah, he's called out the champions, hasn't he? But again, Keyshawn Davis has boxed at a certain level. So now I think it's about time that his chat's a good fight, but I'd like to see him moved up through the levels now and box properly, top 10s, top 5s. Because if he's as good as they're making out he is, then he should have no trouble. He shouldn't be, he's saying all the right things. He's done all the right things up to now, but I want to see him tested now. But yeah, what a talent. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
definitely. You seen much of Keyshawn, Horkan?
Yeah, I've seen him a few fights, and he fought the retired now Swedish fighter for a few fights ago last year, Anthony Jiggett.
Oh, but, yes. Can you dig it?
Yeah. But I believe Keyshawn Davis is on a very high level, and I think he will stop Lemos late in this fight.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a hint of a stoppage there. Luke said Boots Ray 4 Bam Ammo's one great card, definitely. Khalil Ko, I've not seen too much to be fair, but I've heard him mentioned as a bit of a talent. Luke, I don't know if any of you guys have watched any of Khalil Ko's fights. Jay or Håkan?
I watched one fight, I think, but he's a big talent, and I think he will going quick up to recognition for world titles fights, maybe in a year.
Yeah, can see Jams just put there. He's just one draw on the record. He's 9-0-1 with 7 knockouts, so he can clearly bang. Most definitely. I agree, Jam. Yeah, I actually think Keyshawn will win it, and I actually think it's low key a really good fight as well. Only losing to Richardson Hitchens is no disgrace, and he's beat some decent fighters in there as well. So we'll keep an eye out for those fights from the US on Friday and Saturday night. But now we're going to move into what's gone on this week, and there's been quite a bit that's gone on. Great to have you on for this part, Håkan, to talk about this news, because it really affects yourselves over there in Sweden and your region. Frank Warren and Queensbury Promotions from the 1st of April 2025, officially and exclusively on DAZN. That means they'll be leaving TNT Sports here in the UK behind. The news has been received well by most boxing fans I've seen on X. I've interacted. I put a post out today, mainly because I've seen a few negative comments about it, but nothing too major. But the worry, I guess, from what I've seen from people is that the casual fans and bringing new audience onto boxing is hindered a little bit. Just for example, here in the UK, all big boxing fights on TNT. So I was watching football on Saturday over here in the UK, and the Liam Davis versus Shabazz Massoud fight was advertised and mentioned 5 or 6 times within a 90-minute period. So they're trying to garner that football audience over to the boxing. Whereas you're not going to get that on DAZN. DAZN is a platform exclusively for boxing, really. So as Frank said in his interview, he's going to have to now go back to traditionally promoting his fights rather than relying on a huge powerhouse like TNT Sports to push it when the Champions League football's on and all the rest of it. But I'll come to both of you individually. I just want your thoughts. I'll start with you, obviously, Håkan, with the news being a great thing for you guys being able to watch the Queensbury cards in Sweden. But what's your overall assessment? And just answer me as well. Do you think that that could be a problem for getting new audience on in the UK, I guess?
This wasn't any surprise at all, but it has been we have heard of this rumors of this for at least 6 months that Queensbury may be joining DAZN.
Yes,
but for me and for most people outside the UK and US haven't had any chance to see watch Queensbury shows. So I don't know every country in Europe, but I've heard even from Canada they didn't had a chance to watch so much Queensbury shows. Uh-huh. So I think for the global. For Queensbury going global, I think this is the right step for Queensbury.
Yeah, most definitely.
But I think UK-wise, that it could be they need to promote the fight nights more when they don't have TNT behind them to get the football fans over to watch it.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, it can't be seen as a bad thing. I mean, it's a massive platform. It's opening it up to markets. We've got Håkan here who's, been restricted into in certain areas of shows that he can't see, and there's going to be other markets that they're opened up to. So it can only be seen as a positive. The only thing I don't like is, I work in sales and marketing, and it's feeling a little bit like a monopoly at the moment. They're going to have a lot of control, DAZN, in terms of who, what, where, and when. And I just hope that we don't lose the individuality of each brand that is under.
Yeah.
Because let's be real. DAZN are a broadcaster that work for organisations, but at the moment it's seeming as though it's DAZN and everybody's underneath DAZN, and that's the wrong way. They're monopolising it. So I just hope that we don't lose the individual brands and they don't get lost and it all sort of merges into one. I like the fact that the brands are working together and the synergy there. That's fantastic, and that is always great for any business, whatever business it may be. Rather than trying to crush the competition, sometimes it's nice to work alongside the competition. Even if you're not working with them, just work at the side. But they're working together, which is great for us. We get to see fights that we would have never seen 3 or 4 years ago. But I just hope that DAZN get to a point where, they realise that they are just a broadcaster. They are only responsible for producing shows and paying for shows. They're not in charge. They don't make the decisions. I just don't want to see the brands lost under the DAZN banner. If we can keep the brands, fantastic. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And with Matchroom and Queensberry both on DAZN, we could see some like the main fight last weekend with Queensberry challenge Matchroom or otherwise in the main event.
Yeah, that's a big positive. If we're getting access to both stables, then I think that can only be a good thing. We're just going to get better matchups, obviously. Jams has said Janabek against Hamza Shiraz. It's been rumoured to be a done deal. I don't know if it's official yet, but that's great news. If it is, that's an absolutely fantastic fight. And I rate Hamza for it because he was mandatory for Carlos Adames, I think, and he's wanted to take on Janabek, and I love that fight. That's such a brilliant fight.
Yeah, that's a absolute fantastic fight. The best fight at the weight.
By far.
Best one in the division.
Yeah.
That's the best fight in the division. Hands down.
Yes.
He could have easily just tried to fight Lara or Adames or something.
Hamza, but I mean, we've all heard Hamza Shiraz talk. The guy's a fighter. I know he's got the look but he's actually not interested in anything outside of fighting. He lets his team negotiate for him. And I think he's just said, "Make me a fight." He wants to be a world champion. He wants to dominate. He wants the big fights. Sidestepping people, right, at this point in your career, don't stand you in good stead further down the line. Take the fights. You want to be a world champion? You reckon you're good enough? Fight whoever's ready to fight. He's ready to fight. February it is. I don't fear for Hamza Shiraz in any of them fights.
I think it's close. Luca thinks Hamza might lose that one and Janabek move up and Hamza. Yeah, do you know what? If Hamza loses, he can still win a world title at 160. Just because you lose to Janabek doesn't mean that, he could easily go and beat Adames or Lara or somebody like that afterwards. So
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, there's nothing that I've seen from Janabek that would make me feel that he's got a guaranteed win.
No, it's close. It's close, man.
For me, that's a maybe not a 50-50 fight, but I'm giving Hamza a 40% chance, a 60-40 for me. Janabek's the reigning world champion. He's had some devastating performances, but so's Hamza Shiraz. What he did to Ammo, no one's done that. No one expected that. Eddie Hearn definitely didn't expect that. He put him in there to win, and he knew how good Hamza Shiraz was. He had the opportunity to sign Hamza Shiraz. So he knows how good he is. There's a chance he could lose, but for me, I don't fear for him in that fight. I think he'll make a good account of himself, and I think a lot of people will be shocked by his performance in that fight, and I'm giving him every chance to win that fight, maybe on points.
Jams have got it 55-45 in Hamza's favour. How do you see it, that one, Håkan, if it plays out?
I think for me it's a 50-50 fight. So I think Hamza could win it, and Janibek could also win it. So for me, I can't take side who gonna win this. So I think this is a very good fight if it will happen on the February 22nd card in Riyadh.
Yeah, most definitely.
It looks from Jans that the fight is very likely that it will be that fight.
As the main event, do you think?
Surely no, I think Daniel Dubois, I think will be main event. This is my next question, actually, Jay. May as well bring it up now. It's been confirmed that there's no 5 versus 5 now on February 22nd. That was for the longest time we expected Daniel Dubois and Anthony Joshua to be the main event and a 5 versus 5 style card. Frank Warren's since confirmed this week that there's no 5 versus 5. He's now told us that Joshua and Dubois is not going to be happening, but Dubois is going to stay on the card by the sound of it. So I want to get both of your thoughts on who potential opponents could be for Daniel Dubois. I wouldn't imagine that. I think Hamza and Janibek would be the chief support. I couldn't imagine that main eventing over a World Heavyweight Championship fight personally. But what do you think? Are there any other potential matchups you think may be on the card, either of you? And who do you think Daniel Dubois could fight? Announcement next week, apparently.
So I think there'll be Lee Wood will be on it, I think. And I think they're going to surprise us and maybe met Wood against Chukhadzhian. I know that there's Nunes being talked about and whatnot, but I just think it's an easier fight to make. I think they are possibly trying to get Joe Cordina on there, so he may trump either of those two and end up in there. There's talk of Joseph Parker. There's talk of Fabio Wardley. If I had to pick one of those fights, I think Joseph Parker's more deserving of the fight.
Yeah.
But I think he beats Dubois pretty easily, to be honest. I think it'll be a boring fight. I think he'll stay away from his rate and just box at range and possibly outpoint him. I think if we want to see a blood and guts war or a 3-round fight, we throw Fabio Wardley in there, but I think it's too early for Wardley, and I think
I don't think Frank will do that. Cabiel would be great as well, but I think, as Jam said, I think
don't want to risk him losing. I don't think. I think
he'll fight Bacoli though, won't he? He'll fight Bacoli, Cabiel.
Well, Cabiel will, yeah. I thought you meant Dubois. Who do you think,
no. Cabiel and Bacoli is ordered for the interim.
Yeah.
So right. No one of those will fight Triple D. I think it's a voluntary defense now, so Frank Warren could pick and choose in the top 15. I would like to see Joseph Parker, but I'm not sure that they pick Joseph Parker when they can choose. I think they will pick.
Yeah.
I think they will pick another opponent.
Yeah, Parker's so risky, and also he's not ranked.
He's too risky.
Can I put a shot? Can I just
go on
in there? Lawrence Okole.
Well, yeah, he's fighting in December, isn't he? On the Magnificent Seven.
They say he is, but I've just got a funny feeling they might try some random crazy. Because they need a big fight. If it's going to be a headline, you can't throw him in there with the likes. I know he's already got a fight like Babbitt. It's got to be somebody ranked, hasn't it? Okole's ranked high with the WBC. I know it's the IBF, but he's a former world champion that didn't lose his belt in the ring. He was a champion before that. I think there could be some crazy fight like that gets made.
Yeah. And I know what you're saying. And Jams's Wardley would be interesting. Why not? Actually, like Jay said, it'd probably be a 3-round shootout and someone to go to sleep, and it'd probably be Fabio, but it'd be fun while it lasted. Jams has said Frank Sanchez. Now, I watched an interview with IFL. I can't even remember who they were interviewing, but they suggested Frank Sanchez and FA Jagba. They were two, and Frank Sanchez has a win over him. I've heard his name mentioned as well. Now, don't get me wrong, and
Not
yeah,
Sanchez. He's coming off a losses, you know.
I know exactly. And Jam, you're
Richard
right.
Torres, what about him? Sling him in there. He's highly ranked at IBF.
Who?
Undefeated.
Yeah, I checked him. Frank Sanchez is 6th on IBF.
I'd be disappointed if it was Frank Sanchez. I would. Like, he lost to Cabial, but I know he injured his knee or whatever it was. But you shouldn't be getting a world heavyweight championship fight coming off a loss. Really, I know AJ was getting a rematch or whatever it was, but Dubois on a tear, man, and for a fact Daniel Dubois in the background, and he's going, "Give me anybody. You can give anybody." He'd fight Joseph Parker, no problem. I'm not too sure that Frank and his handlers and his dad would be overly keen on the Parker fight because, like you say, it's got a Parker UD kind of snooze fest written all over it, hasn't it? Let's just be completely honest, because Joseph Parker's so good at what he does, but bless him, it's just not the most entertaining of styles. Is Zhang ranked in the IBF?
Yes, he's number 5.
Now, like, if you want to make a fight that's just going to blow the roof off and be an absolute, slugfest, Zhang against Dubois is the fight to make. Although he's coming off a loss as well against Parker, so you can't have one rule for one and one for the other. But I'm with Jams. I think the most likely fight at this point is Frank Sanchez, and that really does disappoint me. I don't know how you boys feel about it. Yeah, I'm with you, Wayne.
I mean, it makes sense, but again, it's a risky fight. Are they going to want to risk Daniel losing his belt after the massive AJ fight that's still bubbling away in the background? I think they're going to look at somebody where, I'm not saying, it's heavyweight boxing. Every fight's a risk at that level. But if they're going to choose an opponent, as Håkan said, they're going to choose a favourable opponent, I feel. And I think they're going to go as far down the rankings as they can. And that's why I suggested somebody like Torres, who's 11-0. I think he might not even be in the top 10. But we know that fights get made.
If you're Frank Warren and Queensbury, you want the best, the most well-known, or I guess the most popular opponent, shall we say?
Fabio Wardley
with the least risk.
With Fabio Wardley, then you can sell it as a risky fight, but we all know that even though I think Wardley's older than him, but he's less experienced in the pro game. I think that would be the perfect fight.
I'd rather see that than Frank Sanchez all day long.
100%. Because Wardley's going to come to fight, isn't he? He's going to throw down.
Yeah, I agree with you. 3 rounds, that is. It's 3 rounds. It's a shootout, and Dubois would come on the better end of it, in my opinion. But
I think so. I think he holds a shot better.
Yeah, he does, definitely. What's your overall thinking then, Håkan? I guess if you had to say a name, who do you think Dubois will fight on February the 22nd?
I hope the Chang fight. That's the fight I'm hoping for. Joseph Parker isn't ranked by IBF top 15, so that fight will not happen in my opinion. So I say Chang is the fight I want to have, but I don't think it will be that fight. I think it will be some of the fighters further down in the rankings.
Yeah,
like the FAI that Jam has suggested for voluntary could be that one.
Yeah, definitely, and I agree with Jams as well. If you're Frank Warren and his team and his dad, you would make the easier fight if it's a voluntary. That's in their best interest, and then you have a huge potential undisputed fight with the winner of Fury Usyk on the line, or Daniel Dubois on the cusp of making some ridiculous money if he just keeps winning. He's got a prized possession that many fighters are in line to try and get. So for me, the Wardley fight makes the sense, Jay. Like you say, he's got the name.
But you've also got to remember that Dubois is a little bit different to a majority of the boxers. He's a millionaire's son. He was brought up in a mansion with a swimming pool. I don't think money's his motivator. I think Daniel just likes the fact that he's a world champion. I think that's what motivates him. I think he's more motivated by legacy. He's had the holidays, the cars, the houses. He's had all that growing up. So that kind of thing, for me, I know it's mental money, like tens of millions of pounds. But when you've come from a certain lifestyle, it's just numbers at the end of the day. It's just more zeros in your bank account. He can do what he wants to do anyway. So I think for Daniel, it's about legacy. So if it is about legacy for him, then he needs guiding properly, and they'll take the easiest fight possible, the smallest risk until they can get him to a point where he either rematches Joshua and establishes himself as one of the best, certainly from Europe, and one of the longer established world champions, and then he can then have a second crack at Usyk, because he's always got it wasn't too low, he dropped Usyk and should be that, he's got that as well, that narrative, but he's also got, he beat the man that everyone said would beat Fury if Fury wins, so I don't think that the big money fights are necessarily what's going to, even though the big fights are big money fights anyway, it's a byproduct of them being popular and fan friendly. But I think for Daniel, it seems more about legacy than money for me. I might be wrong. And it is.
No, I know what you mean. He's not a flashy guy, is he, Daniel Dubois?
Not at all. Not at all. He's definitely not got a stylist, has he?
Oh dear, I love him though, man. Like even his entrance against AJ, straight down, looking like Iron Mike.
Different though.
Yeah.
Different. Daniel
he beat him. He beat him and he knocked him out, and he didn't even react. Kieran Farrell was jumping all over him, and Dubois
he stopped Kieran. He told Kieran to slow down
because Joshua was hurt.
I think. He went to Brazil and he's come back and he's straight back at it. I think I've seen a maturity and a change in Daniel. I think he sort of believes in himself a bit now. I think. When he got stopped by Joe Joyce and everyone called him a quitter, and I'm not saying he believed that, but he sort of fed into that and he lost a bit of his confidence. Doing that to Joshua, especially after he got hurt as well. Do you know what I'm saying? He got hurt in that fight as well. To still, keep your composure and do that. I like this new Dubois. I've always liked him anyway, but I like the new Dubois, the 2.0. He seems to have a little bit more confidence. He gave a little bit to Joshua, didn't he, in the face-off and the press conference.
I love it.
So, I'm excited for February.
Yeah, well, they've said that the card, Frank still said the card's going to blow everyone's minds and all the rest of it. The other fight, I guess, Håkan, that's been rumoured, Shakur Stevenson has had his hand surgery successfully, and he tweeted something about February the 22nd. And William Zepeda's fighting on the Latino night against Tevin Farmer. And they've been linked and rumoured together, and it's now they're rumouring that Shakur's no longer going to take a quote-unquote warm-up fight and go straight into a William Zepeda fight on that date, apparently. Just before I ask you that, though, Håkan, do you think Zhang and Bakole beat Dubois? I'll let you answer that, Håkan, before the Shakur and Zepeda question.
I think that Dubois beats Chang, but loses to Bakole.
Yeah, I think I kind of sit there as well. I think Dubois. I think Zhang's a little bit too. I don't want to say ponderous because that's a bit harsh. He's quick with his hands, but
a bit stiff.
Sometimes
he's a bit slicker.
I think somebody with real fast hands.
Say that about Dubois. He's not slick. I think he's got better head movement than Zhang.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But Zhang's got a good chin as well that people don't, I guess, talk about a lot. But I'd back Dubois. I think in that one, Bakole and Dubois. Who knows, man? I don't know, but Bakole's.
I just think Bakole's hands are too fast. I think he's just deceptively fast. Well, not even deceptively fast now. He's just what he did to Jared Anderson. Nobody expected that. And as much as Daniel's improved. As much as he's improved, I think it'll be a fight, but I give Bakole the edge in chin, power, and speed. Maybe not power, sorry, but certainly speed. And I think speed will be the issue for that. Those uppercuts he were catching Jared Anderson with. He just couldn't prepare himself for him.
He picks his shots so nicely as well. He doesn't even put that much effort into him. It seems he just naturally hits hard.
He's tip-tapping. Like he's tip-tapping, and he don't telegraph anything. He don't seem to sit down on him and swing. Like when AJ got knocked out, when Dubois knocked AJ out, he sat back on the rope, didn't he? Put his toes in the canvas and then sort of walked him onto it, but still a lot of power.
Yes.
Whereas Bakole, he seems up on his toes and he's walking and he's just throwing, but they're all sort of 60%, 75, 60,
Yeah,
75.
yeah.
They're all solid. And I just think he's too slick a boxer for Daniel. And yeah, I would pick Bacoli in that fight, but wouldn't be surprised if Triple D flatlined him, because he can do that to anybody.
Yeah, it's a great fight, isn't it? It really is a great fight.
I think Billy will come back to the app, won't he, once they make that fight?
Yeah.
Come on, Billy, we want you back, brother.
Håkan, Zepeda against Shakur, do you think that's a possibility for February the 22nd?
Yeah, it could be a possibility, but we have to wait and see after the fight card next week.
Yeah, I guess that's if Zepeda loses, then yeah, that blows that all up in smoke. But I don't think Tevin Farmer will have too.
No, I don't think he will lose to Tevin Farmer either. But I mean, how he looks, if he will be impressive and make a statement, or if that he will win the fight. But how he will win, I think, could be if they want to have that fight right now. That fight will happen, but the question is, will it happen this soon?
Yeah, definitely. Bacoli is a danger weighing to any heavyweight. Completely agree. The other big news of the week, then, guys, was Naoya Inoue has signed a sponsorship deal. I think it's been labelled as, with Riyadh season, worth in the region of £15 million, 3 billion yen. I think was the quoted figure. Want your thoughts on? I'll start with you, Jay, on this one. Want your thoughts on it, and what potentially it could mean, because the roadmap was already planned out by Bob Arum. It was Goodman in December, Christmas Eve. We know that's fights happening. It was a Las Vegas show that was co-headlined by Inoue and Junto Nakatani. They were both going to be the main event, like Joshua and Wilder did in Riyadh when that was supposed to be. And then they were going to fight next year in Japan, in one of the biggest fights in Japanese boxing history, I'd imagine. So I guess the question is, what are your thoughts on the sponsorship deal and what it means, and also what do you think that does it affect the 3-fight plan or?
No, it's a weird one. So rather than tie him up to a promotional deal or a representational deal or fights, they've given him some kind of Riyadh sponsorship. It makes no sense whatsoever, and then said that there's no guarantees that he'll fight in Saudi. So what that tells me is that they're using or potentially using Inoue to break into the Japanese market. I think he's therein, or the Asian market, maybe the lighter weight divisions in Asia. We've got a lot of the minimum weight champions and fly and straw and those type champions that are ordinarily from that side of the world. To give him a sponsorship deal rather than a promotional or a fight deal, I just don't get it. They've given him 15 million and then said there's no guarantees he'll fight over in Saudi. So I think it's more to do with what he can do for them in terms of opening other markets to them. Maybe a Riyadh season in Japan, and he headlines and his brother fights. It's a strange one, but I think it's more about the market rather than the individual.
Okay, cool. Håkan, what do you think of the sponsorship deal for Inoue with Riyadh season?
I agree with Jay here. I think they want to have the market in Asia Riyadh season, so I think they will sponsor the next fight for Inoue after the fight on the Christmas Eve. Yeah.
Do you think there's a possibility that this April show and Murjan Akhmadaliev is the rumored opponent for Inoue at this stage, or MJ as he's better known, I guess? Do you think there's a possibility that could now be a Riyadh season card in Riyadh? Do you think that's possible, Jay?
Possible. I mean, it's possible, but one of the first things they said is he's not necessarily going to fight in Saudi.
Yeah.
So
I know. Do you know what I can't fathom though? It's like, how do you pay him 3 billion yen or 15 million pounds or whatever it is, and you know, he's laughing all the way to the bank anyway. He's not even bound to fight for you.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make much sense.
It's weird.
It makes no sense to do a
I find it hard to believe that there's no, even if it's not official in writing, I find it hard to believe that they don't want him to, you know, how can you pay 15? I know they've got endless money, but
or fight a certain individual. It's a much ado about nothing to me, because a sponsorship deal ties him to nothing, absolutely nothing. What's he got to wear Riyadh season on his shorts? Because it doesn't actually do anything. So they've still got to negotiate him to maybe fight under their banner, because a sponsor cannot instruct you to do anything other than you've agreed to, you know, market their brand, maybe wear it on his clothing. So as Håkan said, you know, I think that they're potentially using this to market, to get into the market. And I think we'll see a Riyadh season in Japan. And that's what they'll be using him for. I don't think he'll fight in Saudi. I don't think we'll ever see him fight in Saudi, to be honest. I don't think we're any closer anyway than what we were this time last week. I know that sounds silly because they've sponsored him and paid him a lot of money, but for not a right lot, he's not got any. He hasn't had to give them any form of guarantees other than to push their brand.
Yeah, and they're 15 million quid in the hole over it. It's all weird to me.
They've never done that before, because there's no return on investment on that, really, for me. And it should be all about return on investment. But the Saudis don't necessarily worry about ROIs, do they? They don't have to. You know, it's a strange one for me. When it got announced yesterday, I glossed over it. I think Liam sent us a message, didn't he, to our group, and it looked like he'd been signed. And then when it said 15 million, I thought, that can't be signing him for that. And I'm not dismissing that amount of money, but that's not a lot of money. Cause I thought, well, that must be one fight then, maybe. And it's not. It's a sponsorship deal. It doesn't make a lot of sense for me. So I think it's all just guesswork for us at the minute, isn't it? Nobody's any the wiser than what we were this time yesterday.
Mm-hmm. It's free money is to wear a logo and hold Turkey's hand.
Exactly.
Oh dear. Anything further to add on the Inoue situation, boys, or should we go to the next one?
Not for me.
No, cool, no worries. Håkan, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano is happening a week on Friday, the 15th of November, on the undercard of Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, which is bizarre to say for me. One of the best, well, probably the best fighting female boxing right now. Below a bit of a farce, if we're being completely honest. But anyway, forget that fight. We'll focus on this one. It's for Taylor's undisputed titles at 140 pounds, but it was announced last week, Håkan, it's at a catch weight of 138, if I'm right in saying.
Yeah. I don't know why they have chosen to have it at catch weight, and I think it could be an advantage for Amanda Serrano.
Definitely
at catch weight.
Serrano, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
but I find it strange how it wasn't announced at first. They've only just announced this, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
But why? Like it's rare in any form of boxing, especially when you have undisputed honors on the line in a certain weight division, that you would need to call for a catch weight. And like you say, it benefits Serrano, but Serrano is the B-side in the fight. She lost the first fight. Some people scored it for Serrano, don't get me wrong, but ultimately on the record, she lost the fight. Seems strange from Team Taylor, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I think it's an MVP who's promoting it, and that's Amanda Serrano's team. So I think they are behind this.
Yeah, I don't know, Jay. What do you make of it? It doesn't sit right with me having catch weights on undisputed fights.
It's wrong. It's wrong on so many levels, and it shows for me that sanctioning bodies will do pretty much whatever suits them and a promoter that's paying them. Because the whole point of having weight divisions is for that reason. You have to make that particular weight to fight for or defend that particular belt. This is going to set a precedent for me, because this now says that you do not have to make weight to be eligible to fight for or defend a title. They can't say they're not going to set a precedent, because if you do it once, then you've opened the floodgates for champions to say, yeah, I know I'm at 147, but look, I'm tight, so let me come in at 149. Well, why? Well, no. Well, you did it. Do you understand what I'm saying? It just doesn't make any sense, man. The whole point of having weights is for that reason. You've got to make the weight to be eligible. If you can't make the weight, you're ineligible. It just, it don't sit right for me.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it impacts Katie Taylor's performance on the night, but it's a massive advantage to Serrano. She was champion she had Sky Nicholson's current belt not that long ago, Hawkan, didn't she, at 126, I think it was, Serrano. Yes. So, I think Katie's definitely the bigger of the two, in the sense of weight stature anyway. So, yeah, I'm not too, I guess what I'm trying to say is I just find it bizarre that that's the case in an undisputed fight. It would be weird to happen in a world title fight. We saw Erislandy Lara and Danny Garcia fight on the Canelo undercard not so long ago, and that was 157 catch weight for a 160 belt or something like that. But yeah, it was, I just find it strange. A couple more then. Magnificent Seven was announced since our last show as well. For December in Birmingham. Just want to get both of your thoughts on the card overall. It's headlined by Brad Paul's defending British middleweight championship against Denzel Bentley, which is a very good matchup on paper. That should be fun. Lawrence Okoli's making his Queensbury debut on the card up at heavyweight now, two-time world champion. Sam Noakes against Ryan Walsh should be fun. Walsh just had a really good win, didn't he, Jay? Who did he beat again? Remind me. Knocked him out in a round.
I know Ryan Walsh as well.
I know Hawkan. Can you remember? He won a couple of weeks ago.
I'll get it here now.
Reese Mould. Yes,
yeah.
Reese Mould.
Yeah. I should have remembered it. I was at that card.
Yes. Was that on the GBM show?
At the GBM show. The first round knockout.
Yeah. Hawkan was about 10 feet away and he couldn't remember. So what chance did we have, Jay?
Great performance. I think he was an underdog going into that fight. But listen, Ryan Walsh when Ryan Walsh turns up, he's all three of those brothers are good. I think Michael's possibly the best of the three, but just could never really get momentum. And I think he's the older of the three as well. I get on really well with the Walsh. My brother used to go out to Tenerife and spar with them when he was a pro. So I know the guys, good lads, absolute gentlemen. I was over the moon for Ryan. He's got his work cut out for him in December. It's a tough fight, but boxing, anything can happen. But it's a sleeper, that card. It's a good card.
Sol Dakers against David Adelaide as well on that card. It's a very, very good card, I think, for December, and another great one that Queensbury have put on.
Yeah, it's a very good card.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Are you going, Hawkan?
No, I'm in the UK the week before.
Which cards are you in the UK the week before for a card? Are you, Hawkan, for a boxing card?
Yeah, I'm ringside and VIP for Sunny Edwards Galal Jafai.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, fantastic. That'll be
about that.
That'll be a great fight. That's they've got what's the fight? Kieran Conway just got announced for that card as well.
He's fighting.
Yeah. Who's he fighting?
I saw it this afternoon.
Can't even think. That's a really good fight as well. It's a sneaky good card as well. The show that you're going to be at, Hawkan, Sonny Edwards and Galal Jafai. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that fight plays out. There's a lot of bragging rights on the line for that.
Yeah,
fight between Edwards and Jafai
family.
Ryan Kelly.
Yeah, and there are a few prospects who will be huge stars in my opinion. on the cards. I'm looking forward to see also like Hamza Udin.
Hamza Udin is very good.
Yeah, I was at his debut in Liverpool when he won on KO. I think it was in the third round, and the Spider too.
Ibrahim Spider, backed by JK, isn't he? Ibrahim's Spider Summon, David Adelaide and Sol Dakers. Lucas said Sol hits lighter than Sky Nicholson. I wouldn't say it to his face, Lucas.
I think Adelaide will beat the shit out of him. I think Adelaide hits too hard, and I just think Sol Dakers is too tentative. He won't want to mix it with David Adelaide. So I agree that David Adelaide beats him, but I wouldn't say hits. I don't think he hits as hard as Sky Nicholson, to be fair.
Just before we move on, what do you think about Pauls and Bentley? That's that's a great fight.
Depends if Bentley turns up. If he turns up, it's a great fight. But we know what he's like. Sometimes he don't turn up. I know that's difficult after his last performance, but it's a 50-50 for me. I think if Denzel Bentley does turn up, though, he'll win that fight.
He could, I
agree with that.
His last knockout against Derek Azarzi was brutal, wasn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And Brad Paulson just beat Heaney, just stopped Nathan Heaney in the last round to win the British title.
I don't think Heaney had never been stopped, had he, before that?
He never lost. Yeah, never lost before that. This will be a war. Cannot wait for it, Luca. I agree. Magnificent Seven shows are absolutely brilliant. It's a great concept that Queensbury, they've done it for years, haven't they? I remember James DeGale and George Groves being on the Magnificent
Smiths were
Seven.
on them.
Smith brothers, all
Smiths
of them
have been on them. I've been to a couple of them back in the day, I think.
It is. It's great. I love them, most definitely. Last couple then, boys. We've got rumors of Ryan Garcia fighting an exhibition fight in
He's not allowed
in January.
But he's not supposed to be allowed to fight. What's going on with all these drug cheats fighting? He's not supposed to be allowed. I don't get it. Exhibition or not.
I don't know the rules, but maybe exhibition fights is allowed.
Well, we say that, but it still has to get sanctioned for health and safety purposes.
In Dubai, anything goes, I would say.
Well, I suppose. That's Fight Island, isn't it? So, stupid. Who did he say were fighting?
I heard rumours of Manny Pacquiao, but then I heard it was someone
Pacquiao
else.
Smash his head in. I hope he does.
It was a French opponent, I think.
Yeah,
he's from France.
Different names, but I think it won't be Manny Pacquiao, no chance. Who was it? Hawk, some French fighter.
Tony Yoka.
Yeah, that would be a fun one. But I can't for the life of me see how.
Who wants to see that? We want to see Ryan Garcia serve his ban and fight gangster again. What's he called? Snitches get stitches. What's he called? I forget his name. The gangster guy. His dad's an OG apparently. Give statements. What's he called, man? Oh, Haney, that's it. I want to see him fight him again. That unbeaten kid.
Oh dear. Yeah, he's got the O, Devin Haney. Luke will pay a lot of money for Yoka Garcia.
It's Jaber Sayani, his name.
Sayani, right. I've heard of the name, but again, like Jay said, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that
fight. I mean, people will watch. Sorry to cut you, but people will watch an exhibition fight if it's worth watching. If there's some, they don't. No disrespect to the French kid, but not many people have heard of him, so no one's going to want to watch. I know Ryan Garcia is popular, but he's not that popular where people will just watch him fight and no one. If you're going to do it, Dev Sani, get him in there. I'll fight you, Ryan. I'll fight Ryan Garcia. I might as well put me in. I'm a no one. Give me a payday, Ryan.
Yeah, get Jay's fight talk on Misfits. Boys, last question and last topic of the night. Ben Shalom today was on Sky Sports. He gave an interview saying that Ben Whittaker is more than likely to be back out in a homecoming fight in February or March. And he still talked about the possibility of a US fight as well. I want to get both of your thoughts on there wasn't still not been too much addressed on the injury of Ben Whittaker, but it seems quite a quick turnaround for the injury that was being discussed not so long ago, in my opinion. But I don't know.
Sprained ankle. Well, oh man, he said it was a sprained ankle, didn't they? And a possible neck.
Well, he's on about his neck and all the rest of it. Ben Shalom
but they're saying that was a flare-up of an old injury, so you can recover from that quick, can't you?
Well,
ultimately, Ben made a mistake. He saw a way out for a fight that was becoming tough, and it's blown up in his face because there was camera angles that show, look, forget about it now. Come back in February and March, box Liam Cameron, do what you should have done the first time round, beat him on wide points or stop him late and move on to the next. Because Liam Cameron is dining out on this like he's the second coming of Muhammad Ali. And it's getting boring. Getting boring.
Do you know what, though? Liam's doing the right thing, though, isn't he, as well?
Listen, he's milking it for everything it's worth, which is what you're supposed to do. What I'm saying, though, for me personally, it's getting boring now.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are talking about him like he's the second coming of Muhammad Ali, when ultimately, that fight, we don't know what we're happening in that fight. And every time Liam talks about it, it gets better. Oh, we're beating him with one hand and I punched his head off. And then he sees it again. I was 7 rounds in front after 4. And it's getting wider and wider and wider. We need to see these guys just put it all on the line, fight each other and give us a result. And let's move on.
It has to be that fight, Håkan, doesn't it? It has to be Ben Whittaker and Liam Cameron.
I'm not sure about that. But it will be an homecoming and Ben Whittaker at the main event. So there must be a decent fight to have it as the main fight. Yeah. So it may be the rematch, but I'm not sure.
I know what you mean, Håkan. Do you know if it were me? I wouldn't. I would lean into being the arsehole. Say, I got scared. I'm scared of him. I'll fight him when he's a world champion. And I'd bypass him.
I think that it could be a fight before and then the rematch.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. Although I do think that he's going to get a hell of a lot of criticism if he doesn't jump into the immediate rematch. And I know what you mean, Jay.
But he's used to that anyway. He's been getting... Listen, as much as you see him on social media, his presence, he doesn't actually go on social media that much. I don't think he reads a lot of it. So he's had comments and hate from day one, hasn't he, because of his style and things that, he's said and done before. So I think he sort of blocks it out and just concentrates. I don't feed into this Ben was gassed, because if you watch it, Liam Cameron pretends he's knocked out for a split second as well. So they were both at it then. Everyone's forgetting that Liam were like, and then got told to get up and went, all right, okay.
Well, Grant Smith was roaring at him to get up.
Yeah, because at first they were like, playing it, they were knocked out. Everyone forgets he did that. So they were both at it. It's just that Ben took it that step further, didn't he? And went out on a flipping stretcher.
He won the Oscar. Liam was a close second.
But listen.
But sorry.
Ben needs to come out next time. The next time he's out publicly at a press conference, neck brace, eye patch.
Own it.
In a sling. The lot, mate. Lean into it. Come out with a white stick. Oh, I can't see. I would just lean into it now because people are going to give him shit anyway. So you might as well play the heel. And if you need some lessons, I'm the heel right here, mate. I lean into that shit. So just lean into it now. Use it as a narrative, Ben, because you're going to get slaughtered regardless of what you say and do.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be there at ringside if the rematch will happen next. 100%.
I think I might join you, mate. I think I might join you for that. I might come out of retirement for that one.
But I'm Team Cannonball 100%.
I'm Team Whittaker. Boo!
I've been to 3 fights with Liam Cameron and have met him a few times, so he's my guy.
He boxed. So when he turned pro, he boxed with my younger brother. So I've been at his debut and seen him sort of like come through the ranks when he turned over with Dennis Hobson. So yeah, I'm happy for him. But I like Ben Whittaker as well. You know, I like him. I've met him, and he's actually a nice guy behind all the bravado and
you can tell crap.
He's actually a genuine boxing guy. I was very surprised when I met him. I thought he was going to be, you know, as I'd assumed, and he was nothing like I assumed. That was before he was as big as what he is now. You know, so I've got a lot of time and a lot of respect for both of the guys, and may the best guy win.
I've been to 2 fights with Ben Whittaker and 3 with Liam Cameron, so I've been to a few fights with both of them.
Nice.
Brilliant. There's an argument for me, and I might be reaching a little bit, but with the promotion, it would be on a Sky show, I'd imagine. I think Frank would be happy enough to send Liam over for a big payday on Sky, because Sky wouldn't allow Whittaker to fight on a Queensbury show, I don't believe, or Boxer, should I say, not Sky. I believe that with the promotion and the press conferences and all the rest of it and the hype that could get behind this, I think it's actually one of the biggest fights in Britain if it gets announced.
Domestically, yeah. Domestically, it is. Who's British champion? Yeah. Like everywhere.
175.
Yeah.
He just won the other week, Louis Edmondson. He beat Aziz, didn't he?
Yeah.
But Liam Cameron talked about fighting Edmondson, but realistically, the fight for Cameron is, of course, the rematch. That's the fight.
But we're also forgetting that Liam Cameron's not a light heavyweight. You know, he's not. He makes the weight because of how big he is, but he's not. He's a middleweight, super middleweight, but he's boxing at 175. I'd love to see him go down. So I think if Liam went down, it'd be an absolute nightmare because his boxing ability is really good. You know, he's a former ABA champion. Liam's an accomplished amateur. He's got a really good pedigree, and we don't see that. But no, you know, I think it's a massive domestic fight for early next year. Hopefully, I think Cameron beats Edmondson too.
Yeah, I think so.
Me too.
Yeah, based off what I saw against Dan Aziz, there wasn't anything there that tells me that Cameron's on form, man, and he's backing himself. But yeah, I genuinely believe that. You know, I'm not going to say that the Surely couldn't be brave enough to put it behind pay-per-view or anything like that, unless they had a ridiculous card. But or could they?
Oh,
surely not.
Stop it, man. You after the job with Sky?
Yeah,
but look, Sky's marketing department. You can't sell that. As
but you have to praise Lee Eaton for Liam Cameron. Liam Cameron didn't had he wasn't signed to a promoter, and Lee Eaton got the fight against Lyndon Arter, and then the Saudi fight against Ben Whittaker, and his contract with Queensbury has been out. And GBM helped him when he came back after has been suspended for 5 years.
He can change his life. Listen, Liam's changing his life, which is great to see because he didn't have much from boxing. You know, boxing had not been kind to him. A lot of that he'd done himself with making poor choices. But even before that, boxing wasn't very kind to him. I've seen him box on some really small shows and not getting very well paid. And he was the Commonwealth champion at one point. So, you know, he deserves a turn of luck. You know, so I'd like to see him get a title shot maybe. I don't think the fight's big enough for pay-per-view at this point. But that's why I'm saying maybe, you know, Ben says, I don't want to fight you. I would have beat you anyway. You cheated. You threw me over the ropes. Liam goes off and gets the British title. Ben has a couple of fights. Build it up, you know, because I remember George Groves fighting James DeGale. That was for a British title. That fight was massive. That sold out the O2. Yeah. You know, so there is potential to make this fight even bigger than it is at the moment. I don't think they will. I think they'll stick them in together in the next fight or so, and it'll be big anyway. They might do it somewhere like Sheffield or somewhere like that, maybe. You know, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, if I had to say, I think I agree with you both. I don't think it'll be next Ben Whittaker and Liam Cameron. If I had to, you know, if someone asked me, you have to give it a decision whether you think that fight will be next. You'd have to say it won't be. I just don't see it happening in February. But it's a shame. It's a fight we need to see. And this made me laugh as well. Yeah. Worst fight of the year I've seen up until Friday night. I think you're talking about one of them Belfast fights. Was it Robbie Davies against Javier Fortuna?
I have never been so glad of not being able to get reception on my phone in my life. I was driving through the Welsh mountains, me and Sam are messaging because I'm going to tune in and do a live driving on from Wales. I just couldn't get reception, Håkan. Then on when I got early hours of Saturday morning, my little girl, I wanted to sleep. So I pulled up for a couple of hours. I've put it on, and within 10 minutes, I'd fallen asleep. Watched it again, and I now know why I fell asleep. Those fights were dire. Sorry,
yeah, it threatened to be a good night, actually, but they just didn't deliver those.
It did not deliver. They were poor. Big
up Pro Box TV though, because they are doing good things and they're putting on some.
Put it on free on YouTube. That's what the fans want. You know, I would have watched it live anyway. We were going to do it, and it seemed as though they had a fair few people watching. So good luck to them. You can't account for stuff like that. You make good, because on paper those matchups were good fights. They just cancelled each other out.
They have another card tomorrow in the US.
Yes, they have, and they've got another one this weekend, I think, haven't they, as well? They've got one in...
they have one on Wednesday and one on the weekend.
Yeah, they seem to be doing good things. Like, don't get me wrong, Paulie Malignaggi and Chris Algieri and people like that are in and backing them. So, and they're getting some decent fighters. Michael Conlon and Jamie Conlon's Conlon Boxing help promote the card on Saturday in Belfast as well. So Wayne's up in Northumberland gets reception trouble also. So there you go, Jay. You weren't the only one having issues.
And ProBox TV will have a show in early December in Ireland too.
Yes, the War in Waterford.
Yes,
it's being billed as. So yeah, we'll look out for that one. Remind me of the main event for that, Håkan. It's a good all-Irish fight, I think. So Dylan Moran or something.
Yeah, Moran.
Is Tyrone McKenna?
Yeah, Tyrone McKenna.
Yeah, Tyrone McKenna is always fun. What's the IBA show, Luca? I'm not actually too sure. I don't know if any of you guys know.
No.
It was a show in Russia, I believe. I didn't watch it.
No, let us know, Luca.
IBA Champions Night has had a few shows in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
They had a show, I think it was in the weekend or the weekend before, with Ken Ljungqvist from Denmark fought in the main fight the Russian.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
The Russian who was very good in the cruiserweight division and then went to heavyweight. I just forgot the name now.
Yeah, I'm with you. Do you know what that just reminded me of before we finish up? The Jalilov, the heavyweight, what's going on with him? Because he's won back-to-back Olympic golds now. He's undefeated as a pro with Top Rank. Surely he's going to be getting back in this heavyweight mix. Because because you mentioned Torres earlier, Jay, as a potential Dubois opponent. He completely flatlined him with one shot in the Olympic final in Tokyo, I think it was. He's a problem, Jalilov, the Uzbek.
Just bringing him through slow, I think. I think they just don't want to risk him getting knocked out. I think they're trying to bring him through slow because I think they want him long.
Bob's got a vendetta now as well, Jay, because he's not happy about Jared Anderson taking that Martin Bacoli fight. He's really sour about that because he's like, you wave all that money in a 24-year-old kid's face, of course he's going to say yes. And he went in and Bacoli obviously just took him completely.
So I think they're just taking the time, I think.
But
I believe so too. But Murat Gassiev was the fighter.
That's it, Gassiev.
Oh, Murat Gassiev, of course. Yeah, he fought again. He knocked someone cold, didn't he? Not last week or something.
It was the Danish fighter, Ken Ljungqvist.
Yes. God, what happened to Murat Gassiev? He was so Usyk schooled him, didn't he, in the World Boxing Super Series final, and then he just hasn't been the same. Heavyweight. Otto Wallin beat him, didn't he, not so long ago in the
Otto Wallin beat him on split decision in Turkey before he fought AJ.
That's right. That got in the AJ fight, didn't it? Yeah, but Gassiev just hasn't looked the same, has he? Really? Some of them fights he had at Cruiser when he beat Dorticos in 12th round stoppage in that semi-final, and he's had some phenomenal fights. Jared himself said he had several options for opponents and chose Bakole more for him. Yeah, exactly. But he was made a Riyadh season ambassador. Jared Anderson was, and all that. Like Turkey really got him under his spell, but it was like a shocking career move for him to take that fight. I could see Billy Nelson when we had him on. Just his eyes were just completely lit up like it was Christmas coming early when he was talking about the Jared Anderson fight with Martin Bakole. Like
I never doubted Martin would win that fight from the second.
No, me, and I couldn't believe he was the underdog. I honestly couldn't believe it.
No, it was an easy night's work for him, really.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I think we'll wrap it up there for this week. Jay's Fight Talk, thank you very much, as always, for coming on. Go and subscribe to the Jay's Fight Talk YouTube channel and at Jay's Fight Talk on X. Håkan, been a pleasure to have you on the show for the first time this week. Thank you very much for coming to join us. It was great to talk boxing with you. Remind everyone, Håkan.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. What's the X handle? It's H_HKAN is the X handle for you, Håkan.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So make sure you go and give that a follow. As always, cheers, Wayne Topman. Thanks very much for tuning in. Big up Wayne, Luca, Jams Boxing Chat was with us. Rambler was with us a little bit earlier as well. We'll be there I'll be doing the Keyshawn Davis fight on Friday, and definitely we'll be doing the Bam Rodriguez and Jaron Ennis live watch along. We'll do some prediction shows, Jay, a little bit later in the week.
Yeah,
Håkan, it'd be great to have you back on the channel again at some point as well. As Lucas says, great guest, very knowledgeable. Added a lot to the show tonight for sure. So appreciate that, Håkan.
Thanks, Luca.
Yeah, and thanks very much, guys. We'll see everybody this time next week for No Punches Pulled. Catch us many times later in the week for prediction shows and the live watch-alongs at the weekend. Jay, Håkan, have a great evening. Everyone else who's tuned in, please do, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.